You're listening to Lifing Coast to Coast, the live stream podcast where we explore trending topics and personal development, wellness, and the art of lifing in today's ever-changing world. Join us every Saturday for insightful, relatable, and lively discussions that empower and inspire. I'm moderator Miki here with the co-hostesses with the mostesses, Dr. Lovey and Heidi. Welcome back to Lifing Coast to Coast, the brand new podcast where we will explore all of the trending topics, all of the things. My name is Miki. I can proudly say that I am a coach now with my two lovely co-hostess coaches. We are three life coaches if you are new to the program, and we are here to dispel all of our wisdom and knowledge and chat and talk and have fun. So here's Dr. Lovey. Say
hey.
And here's Heidi, our seasoned rep. We come from three generations, Millennial, Gen X, and Baby Boomer, and we are on three different coasts. In order to make this fun, to change up the format a little bit, we have each decided to bring a topic, and we don't know what it is. We don't know what everybody brought. We don't know. And we're going to be old-fashioned and roll a die. We have each picked a number, and we're going to see who goes first. So,
Yeah.
All right, here we come with the fun and games. I would be the baby boomer.
Our numbers. I picked 3.
I picked 1.
Okay.
Simple.
Here comes the die. Here comes the rolling plate. Let's see if I can do it.
Dun dun dun. That was good.
The number is 2, which means we must roll again.
Roll again.
Until we get one of the numbers.
The number is 1.
Oh man. Okay, that's fine.
Whoops. It was 1. One on the
It
button.
was 1 snake eyes, as they say. All right. I brought you all a little story, a little something that's going on in my life. I've been going through a career change. I've been going through a lot of changing and growing and learning and working really hard. Very proud of myself. But in all of this, I have definitely had some not so great weeks, some crash weeks, some hibernation weeks is what I call them. And it's when I'm not feeling as productive, when I don't get as much done, and being hard on myself about that. So I found this amazing article entitled Healing, which is what I've been doing, healing. Healing often means having no energy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it's all about listening to your body, because truly, I believe that your body will never lie to you. Sometimes your brain will lie to you, but your body never lies to you. I've been doing a lot of listening to my body. But this article is amazing. I found it on the Medium. I really related with a lot of it. I'm just going to read a couple of things, and then I'm going to see what you think, Heidi and Dr. Lovey. It talks about this hustle culture, which is something that I've been brought up with, of always needing to work harder and faster and do all of the things, do so many things all of the time. And it says, healing doesn't play by the rules of hustle culture. Healing demands surrender. It demands that you slow down, listen to your body, and honor its needs, even if those needs make you feel like you're falling behind. If your body, this is something I really needed to hear, if your body is always tired and depleted, chances are it has carried you for far too long. It has kept you going through long days, through stress, through endless responsibilities. It has shouldered the weight of everything you've pushed it to endure, even when you ignored its signals for rest. It has fought to keep up with demands, even when it was running on fumes. And now it's finally asking you for the break that it deserves. And I really liked the quote a little bit later on that it says, safety, the feeling of safety isn't supposed to feel like you're in a constant state of turmoil. It isn't supposed to feel like a never-ending tension in your muscles, a tightness in your chest, or a mind that never shuts off. Safety should feel like ease, like a moment when you can take a deep breath and simply exist without fear of the next crisis. And I think that the feeling that I have when things are in crisis is something that I often make up in my head. And maybe Dr. Lovey has some pseudoscience thoughts about that. I don't know. Even today, this morning, I have a busy morning of meetings, and one of my meetings got canceled. And it was because this client that I work for was like, I don't think we have anything to touch base on. I think we're caught up. And my initial response was like, oh God, I'm not in trouble. I must be doing things right. I haven't done anything wrong. That means I don't have to meet with him and catch up to all the things I've been missing. That's always what I think in my head, that I have to catch up. And I don't. I'm doing just fine. And allowing myself some time to really rest and listen to my body has been really helpful this week. That's what I got. Thoughts?
I love that. Our bodies are uh, uh, waving red flags, right? And we ignore it. And I have a question. If your body was a Yelp review or something like that, what would it leave you with? Oh, what is it's 5 stars that you
Five
could
stars.
give?
Oh God, my body would be like, what are you doing, girl? It would have some strong words for the manager. No, actually, I think that my body would give me a four, 4 stars. Because we're trying really hard and I do really try to get the adequate sleep that I need. I try
Mhm.
to turn my phone off at a specific time. But then sometimes I feel like I'm missing out and somebody needs me. Somebody always needs me. And that's not always true. People aren't thinking about me as much as I think they are.
I think that this hustle culture, I don't think it's just this, I think just Western society in general, that we believe that resting is doing nothing.
Hmm.
It literally is doing something. It's part of being productive. It's recharging your internal battery, right?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it true that like your cells grow in your sleep?
Yeah.
Everything heals and repairs while we're
Yeah.
sleeping or resting. You don't have to be sound asleep. By merely closing your eyes and inducing the state of rest without ever nodding off, you have delta waves, excuse me, alpha waves. And alpha waves are critical to actually getting delta waves later when you're deeply sleeping. And it's an important phenomenon that this productivity culture that we live in doesn't even acknowledge. That's not a thing. And think about agronomist society and when everybody got up to milk the cows and go out into the field and do all the things. What did they do? They went out and did all that crap in the dark. Then they came back and then they had breakfast. And then they went back out and did whatever they had to do. But there were naps. You would sleep against a haystack. If you were the gatherer, you would work in the yard and you would sit down and eat a giant carrot that you just uprooted. You would just be like, oh my God, you'd get a little sun, you'd sing a little song, you'd rock a baby. There was none of this. We're on a treadmill to nowhere, and we're only on a treadmill to burn out. There's no other point to being on the productivity treadmill other than to reach the destination of burning out. And last year I had blood work done, and never in a million years did I think that there was going to be anything flagged in my adrenals. And it was like, hey, lady, wow, rest much? And I'm like, and I was
No.
working too hard, too many hours, not sleeping enough, not taking time for myself, not giving myself downtime.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up with the caveman, with like the old schedules. Because I remember that myth being busted of that we aren't meant to sleep longer than 7 hours at a time. because back in the day they were like naps and then they would run from animal.
That's funny.
Change look.
We don't even have to go back that far though. Like when I was a kid, my mom's family is from Northeast Africa, from Eritrea, and a lot of them live in Germany and in Italy and in Eritrea. Some live out here in the States too. And they have an afternoon nap time. My Zio and Zia, they used to have a restaurante cantadiasta, like a bed and breakfast, but they also had a vineyard, right? And they would get up at the crack of dawn. The cock crows, they would get up. They would, even my aunt would get up before that and have stuff prepared for us to eat breakfast. We didn't have a heavy breakfast. We had a really heavy lunch. And then they would go out, they would do the grapes and whatever they needed to do. And the women would prepare the largest, I don't know, like 5 course meal where they would, just how Italians eat. And then afterwards, everybody would have coffee, a caffè latte or a cappuccino, and then they'd go take a nap. Oh, first they would take a walk and,
Passeggiata.
and then they would take a nap. And the only person who didn't was my aunt and my cousin because they would be cleaning the women's work. But people typically in the Mediterranean areas, and if there's not war and whatever in the African countries, they live longer. And I think that's part of the reason why, because of that lifestyle of being able to take a nap.
Rest.
Yes.
Oh, it's so important.
So I'm curious, Miki, about this listening to your body piece.
Mm-hmm.
How was your body sending you signals?
It's so interesting that you say that. So here's my day. I am tied to electronics. I live my life on computers, on Zoom, on the phone, all of the things. There's just constant stimulation and constant noise. So that at the end of the day, the silence is deafening. And it's something that I really notice of I am in this fight or flight. I'm always, okay, where's the danger? Why is it so quiet? Why is it so quiet? I miss the stimulation because I'm not used to having nothing. And so that was something I really noticed a couple nights ago when it was like there was no heater on. It was a nice night here and I didn't have the TV on and I was done for the day. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so silent. And I feel very anxious by the fact that nothing is happening right now. And it's almost like I'm waiting for a shoe to drop. And that just that feeling of just being very uncomfortable was like, this is a sign that I'm not giving my body adequate rest or time to
It's a
just.
sign of how you don't know how to unplug.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing for me.
And fairness, you are a millennial. You were practically born with a microchip in your brain.
It's true.
And you're hardwired for tech to be your conduit to the world, much more so than my generation, where Dr. Lovey's too, they would open the door and go, out with y'all, out you go, and don't come back until dinner. And a little added, don't get dirty.
Don't get dirty.
That's right. My mom would put me in a white dress and tell me not to go get
Don't get
dirty.
dirty. Oh my God.
I actually ran into somebody that knew me in Germany. It's so weird. I ran into them in the mall in Arizona and I was, I think, 4 at the time, but they recognized my face. And once they told me who they were, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you lived across the way from us." And they said, "We remember your mom used to put you in white dresses and tell you to go out and not to get dirty." And yeah, we'd have to stay out until dinner time, but our parents didn't like us running in and out. So yeah, that's funny.
It feels like a test. Put you in the nicest clothes. Good luck. Don't get dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Patent leather Mary Janes, white ankle socks, brown dust everywhere. Yeah, up your legs everywhere because you're running around in Sunday shoes. Like, why?
Those were the days, right?
Well, I think that at least for me, for a long time, I I think that I looked at my body as just being the vehicle for my mind.
Mm,
But it really is everything. And our GPS system, engine, and and if you think about vehicles with the warning lights, right? I think that I ignored those warning signals for a really long time.
mm,
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
For sure. I didn't even know what they look like just
Yeah.
because I'm so busy. The article talks about people pleasing going into that, which is
Mhm.
obviously something that I am healing from. But I was trained to listen to other people more than my own body.
Yeah.
So it's like when those warning signs show up, I don't even know what they look like.
What about you, Heidi? How aligned do you feel with your body, like mind body?
Oh my God, the Yelp review. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I would give myself 3 stars. I would say the interior is tired and could use an update. And there's a certain lack of energy in this place. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
I live up here above my neck. This is my
Yeah.
world. And
Yeah.
over the course of my life, when I have been in my body more, I was engaged in doing activities that I really loved and enjoyed. And I was privileged, I'll just say the truth, when I was raising my 3 kids, and I was either wearing riding togs or tennis togs or whatever. But I was on a horse, I was on a set of skis, I was on a tennis court, always active in my body, very vital, very alive physically. Ironically, I was denying my emotions and my thoughts and feelings around what was going on in my other world, but I was present with my physicality. And when I got clear on what was going on in my inner world and I got my head straight, so to speak, and started working on myself, I left all of that behind me. And so now, at almost 66 years of age, I'm trying to figure out how to re engage with my body. And I
Yeah.
don't want to. It's a pain in the ass, but the signs are everywhere. And I'm slowly but surely re honoring that. But in the process, I'm mourning what I don't have anymore, what I used to be able to do so easily. I cannot lift myself with my arms up onto a kitchen counter. I cannot get up off the floor unless I like halfway crawl like a baby. I can't just stand up anymore. These little things and recognizing that I've got to turn the tide on that, right? That's my sad state of affairs. Thank you for asking.
No, well,
So,
tell us about what you're doing now to.
I'm, yeah, I'm embodying my word of the year, which is vitality up here. And I've reworked my life to incorporate, I have a standing treadmill desk now that I can walk on while I'm working with clients. And I'm getting myself to the beach, which is only 6 minutes away, and walking in the deep sand. And the first time that I did that, I went for an hour, which I thought was really impressive, and I could barely move the next day. Turns out going for a walk can be too much if you've let yourself go. So I'm reinvigorating my own physicality purposefully.
yeah.
And
So did it take some of the aging stuff and the consequences of not being in tune with your body to start doing these things? Like what
yeah,
the impetus?
yes, the intellectual realization that it is a use it or lose it proposition, and I will end up in a walker and then a wheelchair
Oh,
if I do not honor the truth about being more
mhm.
fit. And I'm not going to endeavor to run a 10K or prove myself in any feat of superhuman strength at this stage of the game. But what I want to be is vital enough to play with my grandchildren who are very young, they're babies.
Mm.
At a certain point, I realized, whoa, there's going to be collateral damage if you're just that old lady sitting in the corner in a chair and you can't be active. So Yeah, that was a real eye opener.
I think that's helpful for everyone to hear, any age, like even mine. You remind me how, as I have become a work from home person, to continue to flex the muscles of moving every day, walking every day, running. I am a runner. I sustained an injury in December, but I'm getting back. And yeah, I used to be in the service industry. So I would be on my feet for 12 hours all the time. And I'm not there anymore. So I have to make sure that I remind myself to use it or lose it.
Exactly.
I love that. Before we move on
So,
to my
mhm.
topic, oh yeah, I wanted to just read one more part of the article that I loved is talking about survival, the reset we need. The bone deep fatigue you feel is not failure. It's the consequence of survival. It's your body's way of forcing you to confront the truth. You've been running on reserves for far too long, and now it's time to stop. Survival isn't the same as living. Survival is about getting through the day, bracing against the next crisis, and doing whatever it takes to stay afloat. But living asks for something deeper. It asks us to nurture ourselves, to find joy and ease, to create a life that feels expansive instead of depleting. It requires a shift from enduring to nurturing, from hypervigilance to safety, from exhaustion to
Mm.
rest. And what I feel like I'm doing right now is really working on that shift, not just surviving to really being enjoying my life, enjoying the present moment.
And in those moments that you're unplugged and it's uncomfortable,
Mhm.
it's good to remember that we are meant to be, not do all the time. And it's also good to remember that it's okay to be bored. Life is boring. We don't have to, oh, I'll clean out a drawer so I can stay busy. That's like frenetic energy. Like I must be productive. No, be bored. It's an invitation to fuck off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have been living in survival mode, peace can definitely feel like boredom, but it's freedom. It really is.
Yeah, because I always hear that. People are like, I'm so bored. What do I do? Boredom was my trigger to drink, continues to be my trigger to drink sometimes. And I realize it's because I'm not doing anything. And that is uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
So I have to force myself to just sit in it
Yeah.
and be bored. It's okay.
All right.
I love it. I love it. Very good. Very good.
So let me ask y'all this. If you had to earn rest, would you treat it differently?
Ooh.
Yeah,
I
totally.
actually feel like I do try to earn rest. And
Oh,
that's not always a good thing.
yeah.
Because I have long to-do lists, and I always try to do at least half of them or all of it. But then the to-do list continues to grow. That's my issue throughout the day. So it can never be truly done. I need it done.
What, okay, for both of you, when you are in survival mode or you're just running, what are your body's telltale signs? What happens?
I'm very hyper vigilant. I'm always looking for the next thing. I'm looking for signs to go. And it is frenetic energy for sure when I'm in survival mode. I definitely resonate with that. That if I'm sitting for too long, I look to my phone. If there's nothing going on, I have to look at something and see something coming from outside of me. That's survival mode for me.
Yeah. What about you, Heidi?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. You mean what is our body doing?
Yeah,
When we're
how do
in
you
survival mode?
know when you've been just going without resting, without, paying attention, that when you're in that place of surviving, what does your body, what does
Um,
your body tell you?
I'm not sure that I've done that in a really long time because when I had that blood work done was over a year ago, and I really changed things up. I started really quantifying the sleep that I was getting. I started really honoring that was like the most important thing. Rest is honestly the sleep is the most important thing for our overall well-being. We need to sleep. So I started to honor that. I also started to be better about what I was eating because that you signs of fatigue, inflammation, all that stuff. I recognized that when I was tired, when I'll go back into the past, when I was tired and when I was leaning into burnout, I was eating really bad. My husband, I call him Deli Mike for a reason. Just, hey, you want a cheesesteak? Sure. So I wasn't honoring a lot of things. And I, like Miki had alluded to earlier, I told myself that I would be fine if I only got 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Having been a human who always, was more like the 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And now I get up. The other thing that I started to do is I look at my app because I have my sleep score every morning, and I gauge the day based on what my sleep score is. If I had a shitty sleep score, I'll take things off my plate. I'll not do things. Sometimes I won't work out because I know that I won't have the energy to get through the day. So I'll just not row that day or not whatever. But I am recognizing that what was happening to me when I was approaching that was I never felt calm. I had a sense of not panic or anxiety per se, but just some sort of, yeah, like not breathing deeply, not settling in at any point, not feeling the word you used, peace. Yeah.
I feel like the energy is going to hit me. I feel like I'm about to be attacked.
Mm.
Always. Oh, it's
Mm.
bad. It's bad. We're working on it.
Well, it's your body's threat response. Yeah, our body doesn't know the difference between just every regular day deadlines and things like that versus a bear chasing us. It reacts the same way.
It feels just the same as when I got chased by a bear that time.
I know, right? That bear. I'll still choose the bear. I love it. Okay. Next roll of die.
Whoa.
Dun, 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 dun. A roll of topics. We are doing a roll of topics.
It's 4. I must roll again.
We will roll again.
It is 4.
We'll be here. We'll be here all week.
It is 6. So would that be me or do I have to roll?
Just roll it again. Roll it
Keep
again.
rolling it. Here we go. Oh, this is fun. Oh, it's a 5.
All right.
Okay.
It is fun.
5 on the plate. All right.
Heidi's turn. Heidi's turn.
Topic number 2 for today. Or
Whatever day.
all right, here we go. I too have a Medium article, and the title of the article, and I am going to read it in its entirety because that's my vibe, is "The universe is waiting for you to let go." Everything you have ever wanted is already waiting for you. There is only one catch. You hold on too tightly to what no longer serves you. The universe is ready to move mountains for you. But first, you need to master the art of letting go. And here's why. Control, the one thing we worship, is a mirage. The tighter we cling to something, the more likely it is to slip away. The more we chase love, wealth, status, the further we get from the place we seek. And yet we keep running, don't we? We hold on to toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, or versions of ourselves that expired years ago because letting go feels like failure. But letting go isn't a weakness. It's a wisdom. It's knowing when to stop digging the same hole, when to stop rowing against the current, when to stop asking why and start asking what's next. Because control is a cage and letting go is freedom. If you're obsessing over something or someone right now, let me tell you that I wish someone had told me. Letting go isn't giving up. Letting go is opening up for the right things and the right people to come into your life. And when we focus on the how and when, we leave no room for the universe to step in. We hold on so tightly to the master plan we've invented that we cannot receive what is meant for us. So when you think about it, the best things in life, the moments that took your breath away, did any of them come because you forced them? Probably not. They came because you were open. So the science of letting go is a thing. It's neuroscience. It's not just a spiritual cliche. Let it go. No, it's neuroscience. And when you obsess over control, you activate your brain's stress response, keeping your body in a fight or flight mode. And chronic stress rewires your brain to see everything as a threat, making it harder to trust, harder to adapt, or harder to dream. But when you let go, your brain relaxes. And psychologists call this the psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt, to accept, and to move forward without getting stuck in fear. And studies have shown that people with high psychological flexibility are more resilient, they're happier, they're healthier. Letting go, everybody, literally changes your brain. Letting go is like breathing. When you hold your breath, your body panics. When you release it, relief washes over you. And life works the same way. Exhale, make space. Practice the art of letting go. It's a skill, it's not a switch. So here's a quick way to start. Identify. Most of us don't even realize when we cling on. We don't. We hold a grudge. We hold on to a goal that no longer excites us. Got to finish that book. You're like, I'm so over that book. A version of yourself that isn't you anymore. So identify it, sit with it, name it, write it down. We cannot let go of what we don't acknowledge. And then here's the hard part, get comfortable, because letting go is as scary as hell. But control is an illusion. I'm going to say that again. Control is an illusion. You can plan your life to the minute, but the universe will test you. Instead of resisting the unknown, lean into it. Treat uncertainty as an adventure, not a threat. And reframe what society glorifies, which is pushing through no matter the cost, right? Walking away is the power. Pushing through no matter the cost, walking away. That's where the freedom is. And it takes courage to release what isn't working and trust that better things are coming our way. And here's the way I love to see it written. Letting go is growing up. Wow. So practice micro letting go. You don't have to tackle the big stuff right away. Small. Skip a day of over planning. Forgive yourself for a minor mistake. Stop refreshing your inbox every 5 minutes. Build the muscle of release one step at a time. And the author wrote this: I learned the power of letting go during one of the lowest points in my life. A few years ago, I was stuck in a job I hated, plus trapped in a toxic relationship. In short, I despised my life. I was clinging to it all because the thought of letting go meant failure. If I'd quit the job, I'd be a failure. If I left the relationship, I'd be alone. If I stopped obsessing, everything would fall apart. You know the scenario. And one day, in the middle of a breakdown on the kitchen floor, I did something I hadn't done in years. Nothing. I let the weight of it all hit me. And in that stillness, I knew I didn't want the life I was holding on to. I was fighting to save something I didn't even want. So I let go. I quit the job without another one lined up. I walked away from the relationship. I stopped trying to force things that didn't feel right. And it was terrifying, but also liberating. I won't lie to you. I didn't stumble upon a better paying job or any golden opportunities. But I gained freedom and time. I faced my fears and I found new people I could open up to. And my life became mine. The universe works best without a backseat driver. and the universe is on your side. It's not punishing you or making your life harder for fun. It's waiting for you to meet it halfway. But it can't help you if you're gripping the steering wheel with white knuckled intensity. You think that by micromanaging every little detail of your life, you'll outsmart the chaos, not realizing you're creating it. And the beautiful thing about cosmic laws is that the universe doesn't need your interference. It just needs you to trust it, to step back and say, okay, I've done my part. Now I'll let you do yours. Just stop fighting the current. Stop wasting your energy on things you cannot control and focus instead on what you can. And make space for the unexpected, the unplanned, and the miraculous. Because when you're gripping so tightly, there's no room for anything new to come in. If you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Stop clinging. Let go. The universe has already lined up everything you need and is waiting for you to say, I'm ready. And when you do, you'll be thrilled at how quickly everything starts falling into place. And there is a little challenge, which I'm going to read real quick because it's a good idea. Take out a piece of paper and write down one thing, just one thing you're afraid to let go of. And sit with that for 5 minutes. Feel the fear. Then rip that paper up, burn it, throw it away, and watch it disappear. And remind yourself, I don't need this. All right, there's my topic.
That was a good one. What was your biggest takeaway, Heidi, from it?
I know intrinsically that there is truth in abundance in what this article talks about. And I've leaned into it a little bit and a little bit more. And the illusion of control, I am realizing only in my dotage, old age, that it is nothing but a bullshit lie. Because guess what? We're not going anywhere. There is no literal finish line. We are here to stop and smell the roses and to breathe in and to get wet in the rain. One of my favorite things, and I discovered this in my late 50s, is to go outside in a dress, barefoot, in a rainstorm, and get literally soaked head to toe. But to be in wet grass with rain falling from the heavens onto my body and soaking me to the bone, I freaking love that. I never would have done that because I was told not to get dirty when I went outside. I was told to be in control. And leaning into letting go of outcomes has become what has set me free during this stage of my life. And so this article means everything to me personally, but more importantly, as I am embracing it now, I want to gift everybody that I know and love with the truth of what this is and what it gives us. Because we're just supposed to live, y'all.
Yeah. So good. I got so much. I took so many notes. I felt like you were talking to me. But I really love the control is a cage and letting go sets you free. And I feel like I experience that control of a cage through perfectionism a
Oh, yeah.
lot. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And trying to control the situation always leads to failure, usually, or just more stress. It just leads to more things that I have to do right. And I always think, who made that up? Who made these rules? What is right? What
and
is
how often are you finding yourself trying to control an outcome?
all the time?
Yeah. And that is just it's just the funniest thing when you think about it. What let's just say it's you and another person. Like you had an appointment set up and you had a plan and that was supposed to happen. And then when that happened, then this next thing would happen. And then all of a sudden that's not happening. It's, oh my God, my outcome is in jeopardy. What can I do? And then we rush to find some other avenue from which to control the outcome instead of going, all right, whatever didn't happen today. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It'll happen tomorrow or it'll never happen. But oh my God, the clinging. Mm. And I spent the majority of my life doing it, and it never served me in any way. What about you, DL? What you thinking?
You muted.
Oh, yeah.
She was listening intently.
See, I'm all making comments and stuff, and nobody can even hear me. Ah, that's funny. So, yeah, the illusion of control. I completely get that. The neuroscience and the psychology of letting go and fear and control, they're all deeply interconnected. And our brain is wired to look to control as a way to manage our fear. And so it's going to backfire. And then it keeps us stuck in stress cycles. Yeah, I love that. There's like the whole fear control loop in the neuroscience of it. If that's the whole amygdala, the fear center, right? And it's going to protect us from or look for threats, whether they're real or perceived. And it actually comes really nicely from the topic that Miki was talking about as well. It really fits, all this fits together.
Yeah.
And then the decision making part of our brain, it usually finds confirmation, right? And the fear is justified. And so basically, the amygdala is hijacking that part of our brain and it shuts down our logical thinking. And we really have to stop because then what happens is the cortisol, the adrenaline, all that stuff. But illusion, mirage, cage, I love all of those terms because I picture it. I can picture the control in a cage, how it is illusory, that we cannot control our outcomes like that. We can control our behavior.
And so, what's the difference of controlling our outcome versus controlling our behavior? Like, how would you know that you're trying to control an outcome if you don't? I don't know.
I'll think of an example such as this, hypothetically. You are working with a person and you want this, I'll talk about coaching, and you want this person to see the light, to buy into everything that you're coaching them to buy into, and to move on in their life and just have that, just here it is, go for it. You've got this. And you meet with them one week and make all this progress and you're feeling really good and thinking, oh, this is great. And then the next week, back to square one. Next week, same story, different day. No, but we've gone through this, and you go back at it again. All right. Eventually, there's a disconnect that there's nothing is going to happen for this person because you're so invested in them getting better, air quotes, that you're not meeting them where they are. It's the same thing. You're future tripping their outcome instead of just being present with what is in the moment, right? And what happens when we shift into be here now in any area of life, but I find it in particular in working with people, I want for them to be heard. I want for them to be seen and felt and understood. Whether they see their life with the bright future that I see or not is not up to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to them. And when I leave each client session, and that is all that I want to do and be for them, then it's fulfilling, it's nourishing for both of us. And I don't go, oh my God, what am I going to do different? How come they didn't get that? I've tried everything. That's not it. That's not what it's about. And so that's the example that I came up with. You were going to say something,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. And I think that when you recognize it, like that is when you can actually rewire your brain, the neuroplasticity. And you talked about pausing and breathing and focusing on that exhale. And that stimulates that resting and digesting part of our automatic nervous system. And it can change your brain and quiet the amygdala and build new pathways to be more flexible, to be resilient, to trust. Um, yeah. So breathing, I think, is a big one. And
And when we're holding on to outcomes, Miki, we're usually tensing some part of our body. Steering wheel analogy where you're white knuckling it. I can't even tell you guys, throughout the course of my lifetime, I had a death grip on the steering wheel every time I got in a car. I was living my life so tightly wound, always. There was always tension up the back of my neck and through my shoulders. And it was like, oh my
That's the question that I was asking you earlier about what is your body, how does your body react?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Good. You're
And
right. I couldn't get there, but yeah, no, now I see. Yeah, that would be me. I was a walking stress bundle.
Mm.
It was everywhere. Everything was tight. Hips were tight. Everything was tight.
yeah.
I think about when you were reading it and talking about the fear of the unknown, I think is the scariest thing. And also, I think it's a big metaphor. Letting go to me is also a metaphor for just embracing change, which is my least favorite word. Hate change. But yeah, I think back to all of the many toxic work environments I've been in over my life of trying to control the outcome of, okay, I'll just let it go. My boss sucks. My boss doesn't treat me well. Nothing's going to get better, blah, 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 blah. And then wanting to quit, but staying stuck there so long because I'm afraid of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, my examples are always that, just taking that chance and just saying, you know what, I'm going to quit even if I don't have anything lined up, which I've done a couple times, which has been terrifying. But the universe caught me.
And that's where the trust comes in. When you think about a solar eclipse, imagine before there was science behind what was going on, and all of a sudden the skies went black and the sun was missing. And of course, there was all these stories subscribed to the gods are unhappy and all these things. And so now with science, we're aware, oh, okay, the moon's hopping in front of the sun. It's going to black it out for a while, and don't look at it because you'll go blind. There's still a perceived threat, by the way.
Oops.
But the point is, when we know more, when we have the information, then we can lean in. Just knowing that trying to control outcomes is an exercise in futility will help us realize the next time. It's like, oh, I got to get that thing. I got to have that, whatever it is that we do that. And when we hold on so tightly like that to something,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be elusive.
Sometimes that comfort of being in something that's not healthy is more powerful than the fear of the unknown. And a
Yeah.
lot of times what we do is we have this like almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We are afraid, and so because we're afraid, we try to avoid whatever it is that we're afraid of, but then we end up being in the situation.
Like it's going to come anyway. It's going to come eventually.
Mhm. If we could shift, because our brain looks at fear the same way as excitement, it looks the same in our brain. And if you could shift it to excitement about the possibilities,
Mm.
it changes. It can change everything.
Yeah, talk more about that. How would our listeners
Yeah.
just do that? Reframe that thought.
Yeah, just like that, like
Like that.
knowing, yeah, knowing that it looks the same. And instead of using, because we talk about this all the time about how powerful words are, and it being okay to be afraid. And that is really the precursor to courage, to valor, is to be afraid. You have to be afraid, or it's just crazy risk taking. If you're whatever you're doing, it makes it courageous that you had the fear in the first place. And then you take it and you say, okay, so this looks the same as excitement. So how can I be excited about the possibilities here?
Embracing that fear of the unknown, Miki, because that is humans' biggest fear, the unknown. We want to know. We want absolute empirical evidence that we're going to get there, that it's going to happen the way that we designed it. That's what we want. But that's not where the magic happens. the magic happens in, there was a famous little, not famous, but in that movie, Under the Tuscan Sun, where she says, I, I wanted to catch ladybugs and I would look for them high and low and I could never find them. And I really wanted them. And one day I just fell asleep in the grass. And when I woke up, I was covered with ladybugs. That's the epitome of the just letting go. I'm just going to lay down in the grass, I'm not going to work so hard at this anymore. And then all of a sudden, the universe is like, here's your ladybugs, lady.
It hands it to you.
I hand it. Yeah.
Because when you're not focused so hard on looking for a thing, it creates space for the thing to find you.
Yeah. It's how vision boards work, right?
Vision boards.
How vision boards work. You put everything up there. It's a snapshot of the life you would like to create, but you don't get up every day and go, all right, I got $4 more. I'm going to get that vacation, whatever. That's okay.
It's okay. Why are you looking at my bank account? Get out of there.
Yeah. But the thing about creating all these plans and everything, and the article touched on this, is that you get there and you're like, this isn't really what I wanted. Like you change your mind halfway there and then you're like, oh geez, but you got to push through, got to persevere, got to get her done.
Because you made the choice, blah, blah, blah. Or do you? I know my favorite part, I think, actually listening to the article was about like micro letting go, about starting with baby things, letting your dog point you in the direction of your daily walk and just like, I don't know, starting small. What are some small things?
We're not talking about bypassing the anxiety or the fear either. I mean, you're acknowledging that it's there, and then you recognize what you do have control over and what you don't. And like Heidi was saying, that fear of the unknown, that's huge. I don't know how many people I've worked with who have been waiting for some kind of test result, maybe a medical, health related something, and they're so stressed out waiting because they don't know. And then sometimes they get some of the horriblest news, but they are at peace because now they know and now they can do something, right?
Right. Now it's time. Having the information is so good, even if it's bad, because then you can act.
And so it's in those spaces of when you don't know, being able to let go of that, because it's going to be useless to sit there and worry, right?
My favorite quote about worry is it's like paying a debt that you don't even owe.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not mine. The worry is not mine to carry.
Yeah. And with the medical outcomes that people are trying to control, what innate wisdom is that our body knows how to heal. We can really trust in that way. Yeah, you're going to need to do the steps that are appropriate or whatever, but then let it do the magic. Let it work. The body does, we don't tell it to breathe. Okay, you got to breathe 60 times an hour. I got this. That's what I do. And in the absence of controlling thoughts, the thoughts that are free and loose and easy does not work at cross purposes with our own innate knowing, our body, mind, and spirit, all of us. We just letting go of the oars and letting your boat drift downstream of peace. Just, see what little eddy it bumps into. And this looks nice. Let's get out and have a picnic. That's how life is meant to be. We have, got your 2-year plan, you got your 5-year plan. What do you want to be when you grow up? Programmed to have those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, it ties in, both of these things ties in, the topic that Miki picked and your topic, and thinking about what you're saying and having that illusion of control, trying to control something, especially with a medical outcome. A lot of times what you're doing, because you're not feeling, you're not allowing, you're not in alignment with your body, you're tense like you were talking about, by not letting go in that way, you are actually causing more inflammation and more stress. And you can cause your outcomes to actually be worse because of that. Yeah.
You mess with your cortisol levels, you mess with
Mhm.
your adrenaline, you mess your whole natural bio balance up by doing that. Yeah.
Stress is not a bad thing, right? Stress is good. Stress gets us to run away from the bear and to meet deadlines, things like that. But it's if it's in short bursts. But we live in this, I got to control everything and I'm stressed out all the time. And that's what's not healthy. And that's what we store in our bodies and we're not aware of sometimes. And it manifests. It does. Our body does keep a receipt for real.
It
For
keeps the
real.
score.
Yeah. I was just trying not to use somebody else's thing.
It does keep receipts though,
It does.
definitely. Like the long CVS receipt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
CBS receipt. So this topic, I want to say, is really resonant with me, but I want to tell you how far back it goes. It goes far back into my 20s because my mom was a free thinker. And this whole you create your own reality thing, I used to look at her and go, that's bullshit. Yeah. And she wasn't far off the mark. And there was a lot of this going on and was raised in California. So there was a lot of this airy fairy, as people like to call it, stuff going on, this way of thinking. But I always believed in the universe delivering whatever it is that you want. And so anecdotally, I'm going to tell this little story about this house that I live in now. And my husband and I bought this house almost 2 years ago now, and it wasn't on our list because we couldn't afford it. It was nowhere near what price range we were looking at. And we went out with the realtor and we met with a lot of disappointment. And long story short, my husband went to meet an old friend for lunch, and I was like, hey, you guys go ahead. I'm just going to take the rent-a-car and drive around and see where I go without GPS and without a real estate agent going, you want to live here, not there, but I wanted to just be organic. So I got in that little car and I drove around just by instinct. And I found this really cute neighborhood. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I like this vibe. This feels really good. And I saw a couple for sale signs and I'd go by the house and I'd look it up on Zillow and, oh, no, that's not quite right or whatever. And then I saw this sign in the distance down one of the roads and I was like, oh, I'm going to go see that one. And I pulled up in front of this house and I loved the look of it. It had a massive oak tree, just huge canopy, gorgeous. And I thought, oh, I wonder if someone's here. So I went up and I did the peek in the windows and I'm like, oh, God, there's nobody here. It's empty. This is so cool. And then I went back to my car and I put the Zillow in and I found it. And I'm like, damn. It's like, shit, way out of our price range. And I was like, oh, bummer. And I let go. In that moment, I just was like, oh, not meant to be. And I moved on and I went and met with my husband and later with the realtor and told him I found this house, but he goes, oh, yeah, that's a really nice neighborhood, whatever. They probably want too much. I was like, okay. And we got on the plane and we went back to California and I didn't think about it again for a couple of weeks. And then the realtor started sending me houses again. And then I went to look and see what that house was. And then I decided to make it my screensaver. Just put it up there. It had all the things that I wanted. So I put it up there as my screensaver. And I just watched it from time to time, not every day, not even every week, just from time to time. And within 3 months, we bought that house. And that was the magic. We didn't, yeah, we didn't have to force it. The price kept coming down and we were realizing that we needed to go up a little bit more to get what we all wanted, but here I am. And what's cool about it is that everyone that comes here, that comes into the house, says, this house is really nice. It's not that nice of a house, by the way, but it's the energy, it's the coziness, it's the vibe, it's all of it. And I have a very persnickety sister, not the one that you two know, who would normally be looking for lack. I'll say that. And she was like, energy in this house is so good.
Wow.
And I just believe in that meant to be moment where I pulled up in front of it and was just like, this feels really good. And there it is, vision board manifest.
There it is.
That's
But
the
you
thing.
had to let go in order to make room.
I had to let go. If I would have been holding on, trust me, I've been there. I've been the holder on, especially when it comes to buying a house. I've done that a lot and met with bitter disappointment every time. And there were bidding wars going on here at that time. Multiple offers were happening, all of that stuff. And I knew not to get embroiled in any of that. One of the houses we first identified went into multiple offers, and I said, nope, we're not doing it. So yeah, anyway, practical application in my real life.
I
And
love that.
yeah, worked out.
I love this. All right, Dr. Lovey, we have time. We have 25 minutes for your topic.
Okay. I actually have two topics. We'll go with the first one and then see if we have time. If we don't, they're related though. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called lifing.
And while you're here, make sure that you subscribe and you comment and you follow us on social media.
Yeah, welcome seekers of wisdom. And I know you can identify with this being a scroll weary survivor of TikTok therapy, more specifically. I wanted to discuss the gospel of pop psychology. I think it's a modern phenomenon that it seems like religions or cults of convenience, right? They're like this philosophy packaged into 10-second long algorithm approved bite-sized quotes. So tell me, I'll set up a scene. Tell me if this sounds familiar because this is me. You're doom scrolling.
You're dooming.
You're dooming.
That's what it is. Doom scrolling.
And for me, I'd be half dressed in my pajamas, drinking cold or hot coffee or tea. And all of a sudden, this self-help reel interrupts my existential crisis. And a few words that seem like they explain everything, why people act the way they do, why life is unfair, or why I've been struggling. And for like a brief moment, it's, wow, that's it. That's the answer, right? And I give you an example. I hope it's not offensive to anybody. I haven't read the book. But for example, the let them, the idea that if someone doesn't invite you or include you or acknowledge you, you just let them. It's everywhere. People are repeating it and reposting it like it is the key to inner peace and the ultimate life hack for dealing with whatever. And don't get me wrong, I get the appeal of it. There is something freeing about, like we were just talking about, the letting go, right? You don't have to chase people. You don't have to force things. But I don't know if that's always the answer, because what happens a lot of times is that people take these pop psychology ideas to the extreme. And like I said, I didn't read the book, so there's probably a more holistic approach, right? But people just get those little bite-sized bits of this pop culture, psychology, philosophy, and now they're questioning all of their decisions that they've made in life. Should I let my boss ignore my emails? Should I let my friend insult me with sarcasm disguised as a joke or whatever, right? What if letting them means letting toxic people mistreat you or never addressing problems in a relationship? What if it is just a way to avoid dressed up as wisdom?
Mm. Mm.
For me personally, it was a different flavor of wisdom. The pop psych phrase that seemed to me to answer everything was don't take things personally, which is very similar, right? From the Four Agreements. Really, though, don't take things personally. It can apply. Like I said, when we take it to the extreme, we can't feel what we feel. Not even when, like, a barista writes Liza on my cup instead of Lisa Marie, or somebody cuts you off in traffic and then they flip you off.
Let them.
Yeah. And that, my friends, is one of the things that I wanted to discuss. If you are open to peeling those layers of pop psychology. And
I wrote down blanket statements, and universal truths are not universal
yeah,
because we're all different
right.
people.
Somebody used the term before, headlines, but with no news. Yeah. Have you ever jumped on a pop psych theory bandwagon and then maybe realized later, maybe not? Or what's the weirdest, funniest, or most confusing self-help advice that you've ever seen go viral if you haven't jumped on a bandwagon?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I jump on a lot of bandwagons. I am reading the Let Them book. I do like the Four Agreements. I will say that those are things that definitely resonate with me. And I think that there's nuance, though. That's the thing, is I very much live in gray, not in black and white. I work very hard not to have a black and white truth because my truth is different from everybody else's experienced lived truth. But I know that not everybody thinks that way. So that's where it gets a little bit dicey sometimes, where people are, this is the truth, this is the way. Mandalorian reference. But
I have,
I have spoken. We're doing our pop culture reference. So yeah, I think sometimes they're helpful to some people and sometimes it can be dangerous if someone who has that kind of very literal black and white way of thinking,
right, right.
this is the truth and there is no other truth. Yeah. I'm very much an observer to that though, and I try not to take everything so seriously or literally.
We live in a culture where people are very dichotomous in their thinking, and they aren't in the gray like you are, Miki. So at its best case, if we use the let them, it will help people detach from a toxic relationship, and it will help them let go, like Heidi was talking about, letting go of that control. And the worst case, it ends up becoming an excuse to avoid difficult conversations or accountability and to build a relationship,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, in this particular instance, it can't just be let them applies to everything. I have
Right.
not read the book either. There's the let them, then there's the let me part. And accountability for our own needs, wants, desires, and how we may or may not impose those on others is always in the mix. But that's where the nuance comes in. That's where people miss the boat. Don't take it personally is a beautiful tenet to live by. I don't take it personally when somebody cuts me off and flips me off. I'm like, oh, you poor sucker. Having a
Mhm.
shit day? Wow. Because I used to. I used to flip them off back, honk. Let me drive fast up to you and be mad in my car too. And then I learned that that was silly. That just made myself more mad and more upset. Made the whole situation worse. The whole beauty, and I don't scroll at all, and I really, you were saying pop culture, I'm like, or pop psychology, and I'm like, oh God, if I could think back to the first thing that ended up on my wall, it was today is the first day of the rest of your life, which I still believe because it is. Every time we wake up in the morning, this is it, it's the first day of the rest of your life. But as far as how people take those things and run with them, yeah, it's not an excuse to not set a boundary with someone speaking ill toward you, a sarcastic friend commenting towards you. No, it's an invitation to say, you know what? Here's a boundary, friend.
Mhm.
Friends don't speak that way to me. So we're done. And that's an extreme thing, but there's something to be said for recognizing that person is not your friend. And that's where I would employ the let them. It's let them not come to my house. Let them not hang out with me. Let them not have the opportunity to say something unkind to me. That's
Mm.
how I would use the let them there. And let me love myself enough to not allow what they said to harm me in any way because it simply isn't true.
Yeah.
But you're right about, the shades of gray, or in my world, the rainbow. I don't like gray, I never have. But I look at all the
I like
colors.
rainbow. I like rainbow.
Yeah, I look at
Yeah.
all the colors of the rainbow when it comes to other people. And I can see those people cleaving so tightly to their black and white world and how sad that is because they don't get to live. They want to believe something is true to the last article so that they can control the outcome or the narrative on what that means for all people, because it must be true for all people so that I can be safe. And that is where the danger comes in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, the don't take things personally, which is one of the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, it helped me with emotional resilience. However, I've worked with people and been around people who use it as a defense mechanism to avoid getting real feedback. It's interesting how it can be a positive, depending on if you're using it as in the extreme, or if you're in the rainbow area, right?
I just thought when Heidi was saying the first thing on my wall, I just thought of two memes that I did take when I was younger as like the pop psychology. The one is the first thing in my college wall was the hang in there kitty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hang in there, kitty. And then relating to her, she's a her, is that meme of that dog with the coffee cup with everything on fire behind him. And it just says, "This is fine." And so, "this is fine" is my like pop psychology of
Yeah,
anything is going wrong. And I'm like, "This is fine," which
funny.
speaks to my avoidant nature.
You know that Aerosmith song, right? Fine, effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yes.
That's what I think of every time somebody says, "I'm fine."
I'm fine. It's fine. This is fine.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
And that kitty, hang in there, baby, that little kitty, I thought as a girl, because I was young when I saw that the first time, was cute. It was cute. But I also, in my psyche, was like, I want to get the cat off of there. I don't want the cat to have to hang in there. I want the cat to be safe and fine and on the ground, or better yet, on a pillow. I had empathy
For the cat.
for the cat.
Save that cat. Oh, I love it.
So I think we are running out of time here. So for me, with this topic, the takeaway is finding the rainbow, finding the middle ground, right? The danger of dichotomous or the binary thinking, the absolutist thinking. Self-help isn't a one size fits all.
No.
And personal nuance matters more than any of these slogans, right? And the best self-help isn't about absolutes. It's about flexibility. It's about self-awareness, just like the other topics that we've covered. It really comes down to self-awareness, being aligned, and knowing what's going on in your body and in your mind, what your thoughts are, how they're all connected, right? If you could invent your own self-help phrase, what would it be?
You are exactly where you need to be, is my mantra.
I love it.
Or you are doing great, just existing right now.
I think the overarching theme for me is life is a ride. Roll down the windows and let the air blow through your hair. Just take it as it comes.
Take life as it comes.
Yeah, and enjoy it. We're meant to enjoy it. We are here to enjoy this. And part of this life is suffering, but that's not the point. The point is to recognize that living here,
Yeah.
watch a dog, watch a cat.
Yeah.
They're just being a dog. They're just being a cat.
She's sleeping.
Yeah. They're just happy when they see you, aloof sometimes with a kitty. And they want to be fed and they want to take a nap and they want to, hang out. They're
I
living.
told you what my mom used to say to me. Until death comes, live. Live. Live, Lisa Marie.
Yeah, but don't get dirty.
Don't get dirty.
Don't get dirty. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time on Lifing Coast to Coast. See you later.
Bye.
Ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to Lifing Coast to Coast. Join us every Saturday for insightful, relatable, and lively discussions that empower and inspire.